Happening now, why local representatives are pushing to have Pennsylvania workers exempted from New York's quarantine list. Plus, where the next round of COVID-19 stimulus stands.
Well, the clouds will be with us throughout much of this afternoon, but some peekaboo sun ahead of some more heat by the time we go to the weekend. I've got the full forecast next. The news at noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. State Senator George Barrello has joined the local and regional lawmakers in urging New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to exempt Pennsylvania workers from his quarantine. Barrello joined a group of Southern Tier and Western New York lawmakers today in urging Cuomo to provide an exemption for workers who live in Pennsylvania but work here in New York from potentially being included in his COVID-19 travel advisory that now covers more than 30 states. A letter to the governor outlines the worst-case scenario where, for example, Pennsylvania is added to Cuomo's travel advisory list, largely because of coronavirus spikes in large cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, where border counties remain stable. Now, Cuomo's travel advisory applies to any person traveling to New York from a state with a significant community spread of COVID-19 and requires them to quarantine for 14 days. The senator says around 9,500 Pennsylvania residents work within the Southern Tier region. A Chautauqua County grand jury has indicted a Jamestown man on a charge of second-degree murder in connection with a stabbing last month. A Chautauqua County court clerk telling us that 28-year-old Carl Sorensen was indicted last week. Jamestown police charged Sorensen in the death of 23-year-old Brandon Holland, who was stabbed in the chest while walking on the sidewalk along North Main Street between East 4th and East 5th Streets around 10:14 p.m. on July 6th. Now, Holland was taken to UPMC Chautauqua Hospital, where he later died of his injuries. Sorensen, according to police, is also a New York State parolee. Officers say he was taken into custody July 7th by investigators at his apartment on Washington Street. Now, a reward, meanwhile, is being offered for information that leads to the arrest of a man wanted by Jamestown police and U.S. Marshals in connection with this case. According to Buffalo Crime Stoppers, $2,500 is being offered for information on Jason Talley. Jamestown Police Captain Robert Samuelson telling our Matt Hummel that Talley is wanted in connection with the murder case. Stimulus aid is running dry for many Americans struggling during this pandemic. Now, the White House saying it might step aside Congress to take action if a deal is not reached soon. Our Whitney Wild has the latest from the White House.
The White House now weighing whether to take executive action if stimulus aid negotiations stall in Congress. A White House official saying if something isn't reached by the end of the week, we don't want to see it go for another week.
I may not have to sign. Progress is being made, as you know very well, on the Hill.
The progress made in Tuesday's closed-door negotiations, still no deal. The price tag House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is eyeing $3.4 trillion, which Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is blasting as ridiculous. Now cases in about 28 states are plateauing at very high levels.
We must ensure that these states did not become new flare-ups, so we're watching them very, very closely.
Illinois reporting nearly 1,500 new COVID-19 cases Tuesday. The state reporting over 1,000 new cases for 14 days straight now.
If we don't see some change here, the virus will cause some businesses to close and an increasing percentage of people to get sick, and some will even die.
And deaths are now rising in at least 27 states.
Never experienced anything like this.
A funeral home in Del Rio, Texas says they're overwhelmed, holding up to 15 funerals a week.
Lose a loved one when they're by themselves, you want to be able to hold their hand, be able to see them take their last breath.
At the White House, I'm Whitney Wild reporting.
All right, Whitney, thank you. Meanwhile, another U.S. drug company has released information that shows its coronavirus vaccine is safe and may be effective. That makes 3 companies now with promising vaccine results. Jamestown Public Schools superintendent says that parent feedback is critical to making school reopening this fall a success. Last week, Superintendent Dr. Kevin Whitaker released the district's COVID-19 reopening plan. The superintendent says since the release, the school has received over 1,800 responses to the district's online survey. Currently, Whitaker is leaning towards 2 hybrid reopening models that would have students attend class in person at least 2 days a week with 3 days of virtual learning at home. Much of the feedback the district has received so far, according to Whitaker, favors face-to-face learning. He says because many rely on schools as a source of childcare, the hybrid style is likely the best option to take.
What we're after is what kind of impact that has on their work, on their home life, and which one of those generally 2 models might work for them. So what will happen is we have, say, a general model that we'd go with, and then each building would then say, here's how that general model works specifically here. Which doors are you going to use? What's our screening process? Who are the people that are going to be doing that? What's the process if we get someone who's symptomatic, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, the superintendent says by August 15th, his district will formally announce specific reopening plans for each school within it. Whitaker says to wait on the governor to make decisions about local schools creates a challenging process. Jamestown Public Schools, according to Whitaker, is moving forward with the assumption that their plan will be approved by the governor's office, even though an official decision hasn't been released yet. Well, we thank everyone for joining us here for WNY News Now as we make our way through the first full week of August. Let's check in with the comments and say hello to Mike. Hopefully you're doing well. Good to see you on the broadcast. Good to see Lori, David, Joseph, Samantha, Beth, and Wallace as well. Hopefully you all are having a good day, and we appreciate you so much for joining us. Let us know what you think about these stories and more in the comments down below. Well, let's now get a check of our First Defense weather forecast. That's where we find Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. Happy Wednesday to you, Mr. Hunter.
Happy Wednesday, Justin. Halfway through the week already. And hey, last night, or actually about 8 o'clock last night, we had water spouts coming off this big body of water, Lake Erie. But today, no water spouts today. We'll actually show you the water spout video and pictures a little bit later on during the full weather segment. Presque Isle Beach looking nice, 70 degrees with a dew point of 54, so the dew point is down today. But there is a small little scattered shower that is basically moving out of Erie County, Pennsylvania, crossing over into Warren County, basically south of Chautauqua County. And that is going to be the best chance for rain today, right down near the state line into northwestern Pennsylvania. Best chance for rain today, but it's only going to be a small sprinkle or a little shower. Everybody else should remain dry. But yeah, just a lot of clouds around, maybe some peekaboo suns, especially for the afternoon. 74 was the high yesterday. 58 is, of course, where we started the day this morning. 94 was the record high back in 1988, and we bottomed out at 40 on this state back in 1985. Temperatures right now, as of noon hour, 65 here in town. This is way below average. Our average high is still at 80 degrees. 66 in Mayville, 68 Fredonia, 65 in Clymer, 66 in Randolph, 64 over in Olean. So the 60s are kind of ruling across the area today, and I don't think they're going to warm up too much past that. So basically, any drizzle ends partly to mostly sunny or partly sunny through the afternoon. A spotty shower down in northwestern Pennsylvania, much cooler, less humid, and it will be breezy. 68 on the hilltops, 75 at the lakeshore, if you're lucky, with a west wind averaging around 11 to 15 miles per hour. We'll talk about the water spouts that occurred on, of course, off Lake Erie yesterday, which was captured on video, and of course the 7-day in a few. Justin?
All right, Dakota, certainly looking forward to it. Thank you. Vote early, vote absentee, vote in person. Just make sure you vote. Commissioners Norm Green and Brian Abrams tell us that there are more options than ever, so there's really no excuse to do so this fall. Voters have a 9-day period for early voting. The absentee ballot option and traditional in-person voting on Election Day, and polls will be open for 15 hours. They expect as many as 10,000 absentee ballots this year and are urging people to make their voices heard.
However they feel is their best method to vote, as long as they vote, participate in the process. That's where we're at as far as trying to make sure that as many people turn out. You know, a 70% year is a good and big year, and we watch years where there's 29 to 32% people turn out, and the other 60 or 70% stay home. And it's disappointing because you put a lot of effort into making sure that you're prepared for 100% turnout. When you only get 30, you're kind of like, wow, that's not how democracy is supposed to work.
Abrams tells us the Board of Elections is taking every safety precaution to ensure voter and poll worker safety this year, including things like masks, social distancing, hand sanitizer stations, and wiping down of the polling site. Now, meanwhile, his colleague Green says the best option for absentee voters is to apply now, get to the ballots early, and return the completed ballot as soon as possible. For more information, you can visit votechautauqua.com. A bill co-sponsored by Congressman Tom Reed was signed into law yesterday by President Donald Trump, and Reed was at that signing ceremony. The new law secures annual funding for maintenance of national parks and historic sites in an effort to end maintenance backlogs. It's called the Great American Outdoors Act, and it provides nearly $10 billion to repair roads and buildings that have been in neglect for several years. The law is being touted as the conventional bill of this generation. President Trump says Americans treasure the pristine beauty of national parks, and this law continues the efforts slated by President Teddy Roosevelt nearly a century ago. Coming up next, we speak to the organizer of a local golf tournament about how this year's festivities are adapting to the COVID-19 pandemic. And later, why it might take months for people to get their hands on this popular cleaning product. We tell you that and more as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
I grew up in a single-parent home. We were raised by my mom in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, and I slept in what was supposed to be a dining room just off the kitchen. We were poor and fell behind in our bills. More than once our electricity was shut off and there were eviction notices taped to our door. I remember walking into our kitchen and finding my mother standing by the stove, crying to herself because she didn't know what to do and felt helpless. I was about 9 or 10 when our apartment was robbed. I remember arriving home with my mother and brother and finding the door open, feeling confused because the first thing I saw was that our television, a set which forever sat on a stand in the living room, was missing. I know firsthand what it's like to be a victim, to be assaulted, robbed, to have things taken from you which you're never going to get back, and to be scarred by experiences which 30 and 40 years later still haunt me. We're lucky enough to live in Chautauqua County where by and large we feel safe, but unfortunately bad things do happen here. I want to be the district attorney who personally prosecutes the most serious crimes and who's there for victims every step of the way. These are the people I want to represent, to fight for their justice, to fight for our justice in the courtroom, to help people who have suffered at the hands of others. This is why I want to be your district attorney.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. Coming up next weekend is a charity golf tournament that aims to raise money to help youth in our community at the New Directions Youth and Family Services in Randolph. Joining us to talk more about the Ed Kruger Memorial Golf Tournament is Leslie Disbro, the Development Director with the group. Thank you for joining us today, Leslie. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Justin.
First off, what can you tell us about this year's event?
Well, this is our 10th tournament. This has been really quite an amazing run for a charity fundraiser, and especially given the COVID era that we're in. We started in 2011 when Ed Kruger passed suddenly, and friends and coworkers teamed up to hold a tournament in his honor, with proceeds benefiting New Directions and the kids Ed loved working with. The list of tournament honorees has grown, as has our tradition of naming scholarships or awards to keep their memories alive. This year, in addition to Ed, we honored John Andrews, Gary Archer, Stephanie Cannon, Joe Cara, Alex Folk, Harold Nichols, Nicholas Shelley, and Dale Wadsworth, all who made a significant impact during their time at New Directions.
And I imagine this year with the coronavirus, it's made things a little difficult for many organizations to host fundraisers that really have a huge impact on the community. For your group, what types of things have you had to adapt to in order to get things rolling for this fundraiser? And then the day of, how will it look different than years past?
Sure, you're right. This has been a very different year for us. Our tournament is usually scheduled the first Saturday in June, and so we've moved it to August 15th. And fortunately, we're gonna, go ahead with the tournament. Everyone has been impacted by recent events in a different way. Everyone's comfort level is different, and we respect that. For those who are up for a tournament, we've taken a look at how we can do things differently and safely. We are following health guidelines with masks and sanitizing and reducing lines at registration and at dinner. And we want to provide a safe and enjoyable experience for all the day of the tournament.
Now, could you tell us a little bit about who specifically benefits from the funds that are raised here? I know New Directions has a wide variety of services that really impact those most vulnerable in our community and youth, trying to help better them. What does this funding do, and why is it so important?
Sure. All tournament proceeds support scholarships and leadership activities for kids that are receiving New Directions services in the Southern Tier. So these are kids placed out of home and residing in either Randolph residential or foster care locally, or our agency operated boarding homes, which are located in Faulkner, Salamanca, and Weston's Mills, or they're in our local supervised independent living program. And so proceeds fund scholarships so that when kids graduate from high school, there's some financial assistance for costs associated with college or trade schools or the military. Many people don't realize that our youth have the same dreams as any graduate. Some want to work with animals, some want to become cosmetologists, some want to change the world. And your support is invaluable because it shows that others believe in them too. Proceeds also support our Timberwolf activities, and Timberwolves are our campus leaders. Before COVID, they were active volunteering at benefit dinners or at the SBCA or St. Susan's Soup Kitchen. And the tournament proceeds have funded Timberwolf experiences across Western New York. So everything from dining out to Maid of the Mist, our kids experience many memorable firsts because of the tournament's generous supporters.
Yeah, and I know we're looking at some of the photos now that you shared with us of some of the outings that the kids have participated in. And I imagine a lot of them, Leslie, we talk with other groups like yours and like the Child Advocacy Program, for example, here, come from some pretty tough situations. So being able to offer this normalcy of what a family would do, would you say that's life-changing for them in a way?
It is. Kids are kids, and we're fortunate to be able to offer them what we can. We'd like to do more. Obviously, nonprofits, it's difficult for us, but this is just one way where we've kind of found a way to build in some additional support and send kids on their way. And it does mean a lot. Years down the road, we are still in contact with kids who have received our services, who are reaching back out to us to let us know the impact that it made during their time here and also beyond.
Wow, that's amazing. So then this fundraiser coming up, super important. Right now, if someone's out there and they're just starting to hear about this, what's the best way that they can get involved and that they can help?
Sure. So we have limited spots remaining for golf teams. You can register online at fosteringgood.org, click on support, and then a link to the golf. And registration is only open for golfers up through Friday, August 7th. So we need you to act quickly on that. You can also donate items. We run a gift raffle on the Randolph campus in conjunction with the tournament. Also, golfers love prizes, and we have multiple contests throughout the tournament to keep things exciting. A quick turnaround is needed on any donations, and we need to hear from you by Friday as well, just to get all of our preparations in order. Or if you'd like, you can make a donation directly to the scholarship fund online at fosteringgood.org or by mailing a gift to us at 356 Main Street, Randolph. We had 10 graduates in the class of 2020, which is a large class by our standards, but we want to give everyone a scholarship and help prepare them for their next steps. So your support is very much appreciated.
Yeah, I imagine even the smallest of things probably can make a really big difference. Leslie Disbro, the Development Director at New Directions Youth and Family Services, joining us today. Leslie, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Justin.
To learn more about their program, as Leslie mentioned, you can visit fosteringgood.org/support/golf. Well, now let's get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. And there were some pretty amazing sights overnight, Dakota, from Lake Erie in regards to a few water spouts that popped up.
Yes, and this is not as uncommon as you might think it is. Water spouts occur on the Great Lakes all the time, especially during summer and fall. This was a great video. I got to thank Tammy for sharing this with us. This was fantastic. Look at this as she zooms right in. Look at the water spout come right from the cloud down into the water. You can see the water being kicked up right there. So this was a confirmed water spout. This was at the Dunkirk Beach. And then here's another look. This is the first picture that we got in of the water spout of at least the funnel here from this was at Sunset Bay Beach, and it's hard to tell if this was in the process of forming or if it was in the process of dissipating. But again, you can see the funnel hanging down right there. So that was fantastic. And again, we had water spouts basically on the eastern and western end of Lake Erie yesterday. So what are water spouts? Since I'm sure some of you are probably scratching your heads thinking like, well, what exactly is a water spout? It's exactly as it seems. It's actually a tornado over water. There's two types of water spouts. There's fair weather water spouts, which come out of a towering cumulus, and then there is the other type, which is tornadic, which is what we had last night that come out of storms. So basically what we need two ingredients. We need warm air to rise. So we've got the warm Lake Erie water, 77 degrees is the current Lake Erie water temperature. So that rises. Cold air mass above, unstable air mass. Boom, you got your water spouts that are going to form. Now, water spouts can come onshore. When they do that, they become a tornado once they become onshore. And they're pretty cool to look at, but if you spot a water spout on the lake, you need to turn around and head back into port because you don't want to go through one of those. I mean, even though they usually don't kill people, you really don't want to go through one. So there's your Peg the Geek Meter segment for today. Peekaboo sun for the afternoon. Upper 40s are possible to start tomorrow morning, at least in some of the deepest valleys. How's that for you? That's a nice taste of fall. And that'll continue throughout the rest of this week. Below average temperatures, but we go right back into the summer heat and humidity as we go into the weekend. Live look from the Doubletree Hotel shows you lots of clouds around 65 as a noon hour. West wind to 10, bit breezy with that wind gust of 16 miles per hour. So again, we've seen the camera bouncing around just a little bit. First Defense Doppler shows you this small little shower that is coming out of Corry in Erie County going into Warren County just south of Bear Lake, and then obviously west of Warren. This is going to be our best shot of rain today. Northwestern Pennsylvania, best shot for at least a small sprinkle. Otherwise, everybody else should remain dry. Lots of clouds around. Isaias is now way up into Canada, so we can finally stop saying Isaias now, which has been the vein of many forecasters and anchors' lives of trying to say it. Hey, speaking of golf, if If you want to get out and golf today, temperatures around 70, 71 degrees, lower 70s. I would say mostly cloudy with a few peaks of sun, but it will be breezy. But keep in mind the courses might be a little bit wet from the recent rainfall. I want to take you through the temperature model just to show you where the temperatures are going to wind up, especially tomorrow morning. Temperatures are likely in the the upper 40s in the valleys and upper 50s near the lakeshore. 7 days down the road we go. 75 tomorrow, 77 on Friday. Just a small chance for that isolated shower. 80 on Saturday, 83 on Sunday. The heat and humidity builds as we go into the weekend into early next week, and we bring back those scattered afternoon showers and storms Monday and Tuesday. We'll take a break and be right back.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
There's an old saying, there's no news in the newsroom. Well, it's true. The time I spend at the anchor desk is just part of my day. Most of our time is spent gathering stories in the community, stories that matter to you. We can't do it alone, and we need your help. When you see breaking news or have a news tip we should know about, drop us a line on Facebook today, email our news desk, or call our newsroom at 488-7226 so we can bring those stories straight back to you.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back. Disinfectant wipes that have been pretty hard to find will likely remain difficult to buy well into next year. That's according to the world's biggest maker of disinfectant cleaning materials, Clorox. With a 45% market share of cleaning wipes, Clorox says it's aggressively ramped up its production, but that still won't be enough to keep up with current demand. The company's incoming CEO says with the COVID pandemic expected to last well into next year, on top of the upcoming cold and flu season, it will now take a year to reach the supply level necessary to meet customer demands. Clorox dominates the $1 billion disinfectant wipe market. Demand for the product line boosted the company's overall sales by 22%. Well, it's a way to stay connected, share pics, and give friends and family a glimpse into your day, but social media has a dark side too, and it's coming out in full force lately. As our Mandy Gaither explains some tips on how to handle outrage over social media in today's Health Minute.
A global pandemic, a divisive election, and a move to end racial inequality. If you're online and overwhelmed, you're not alone.
It's really amazing to us just how much angst there is on social media.
That's why Ken Yeager and his colleagues at Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center decided to do a survey of 2,000 Americans polled. 56% changed their patterns on social media because of tension from current events,
which was a number much higher than we thought we would ever see.
3 in 10 Americans surveyed spent more time on social media, while 1 in 5 said they were limiting their time online.
They were trying to minimize the amount of negativity they were getting by blocking people in social media.
If you can't find serenity on social media, Yeager, who specializes in mental health, says give yourself some time to walk away from it. Get stuff done around the house or go outside to clear your mind. When you do go back to those posts, set a time limit and think critically about what you're seeing.
Just because it ended up in print or in writing somewhere doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate or correct.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Mandy, thank you. Some great tips there. Now, according to statistics, this year an estimated 3.6 billion folks were using social media worldwide. Well, here's something to cheer you up. Girl Scouts are adding a bit of sweetness on National S'mores Day next Monday. The Girl Scouts of Western New York are going to offer a free pack of their famous cookies with any purchase of cookies on Monday at Girl Scout retail shops for curbside pickup. Monday is National S'mores Day, and locally purchases can be made at the Jamestown Service Center on Horton Road from 1 to 4. Pretty cool, certainly. We're all going to want to get a little bite of sweetness. That's going to do it for us today. Of course, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com. When you're on the go, stay in the know by downloading our mobile app. All you got to do is search WNY News Now in the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. Got to thank Rod, Stewart, Haley, Josie as well for joining us. Hopefully everybody is having a good day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.